Hello, good afternoon. Hopefully this is all working. I didn't actually check my audio setup first. Um, Normally I do. You're amazing, by the way. Hello, one person that's watching me, and the number is going up. Excellent. You are amazing. Your mind is amazing, and you have the power to do so much incredible stuff with it. And I wanted to jump on to use this time to share that message with you first, to tell you that you're amazing, uh, but also to talk a little bit about some of the things that you can do to use the power of your mind right now to achieve more. Also, I've been talking a lot about my self-hypnosis workshop recently. I'm sure you've probably seen a post or two about it, and I've had a few people asking me some questions about it, and so I thought I'll come on and answer some of them and tell you a bit more about how self-hypnosis works and how it can really change your life, basically. Hello, Jess. Yeah, you're amazing, especially. Your post recently that came up is one of the things that inspired me to come and do this video now, actually. So I'll come to that in a moment. So yeah, first and foremost, your mind is absolutely amazing, and a lot of people don't really tap into. In fact, I think very few people really ever tap into our full potential as human beings because we are incredible. But many people go through life without really embracing what they're capable of. And often that's down to a whole load of different reasons. A lot of people think that it's because they don't have the confidence. The reality is they have the confidence, but they've just layered other stuff on top of it to convince themselves that they can't. You see, we go through life, we learn, we absorb from the people around us, from our experiences and from our young age. And so if we're surrounded by people who also haven't achieved as much as their potential allows them to be capable of, then we'll just grow up believing that to be normal and expected. Howdy, Higgs. Uh, yes, so about what hypnosis is and the reality of it versus the perception of it. So let me just jump ahead to cover that now. So this was something that came up in a post that Jess put out, but it's also been something I've been discussing a lot recently, particularly when I talk about self-hypnosis. Most times that I discuss it in a large enough group, there's someone who says that the kind of questions whether or not everyone can be hypnotized, and if it's about control. So I want to approach that. No one that I know. So, firstly, to understand just how powerful self-hypnosis or any form of hypnosis is, you need to understand what hypnosis actually is. And anyone who says that they can't be hypnotized is as right as they are wrong. And there's a reason I say that, because if you interpret hypnosis as somebody else using mind power to control you, and you're absolutely adamant that it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And that's fine. That's probably a good thing. Other than for entertainment, there's not many people, I think, who would want that to be a real thing. But even in the world of hypnotic entertainment, there's a lot more to it than just what you immediately see on stage. So let's talk. I might talk about that a bit in a moment if someone asks the question about it. But that's a tangent, so I won't talk too much about stage hypnosis just yet. So the reality is, hypnosis. There's two elements to hypnosis. There is a trance-like state, and there is suggestion. And these two things don't actually have to go together. They're both effective in their own way for their own things on their own. But when you combine them together, effectively, it's like bypassing the conscious doubt, worries, and expectations and working directly with the subconscious. And this is what people are used to when they talk about hypnosis, is that combination of sleep and suggestion. So putting someone to sleep and then telling them to do something. But it's not quite as simple as telling them to do something, unless it's stage hypnosis, which is a bit different. It's about making suggestions, and it's up to the individual whether or not they follow those suggestions. But a good hypnotherapist will place those suggestions in such a way that the client will recognize that they want to follow those suggestions. See, you have spent your entire life in hypnosis of some form or another. You have experienced hypnosis in various different ways. When we look at those two elements, the trance-like state, let's talk about that a little bit first. That's something you've experienced already. We have different levels, effectively, of cognitive function, different levels of awareness and consciousness. And when we're operating in different ways, our brain, literally, you can scan the brain and there's different wavelengths to our brain waves, and you can study them and look at them, as scientists like to do. So there's a gamma state. This is something that you will have definitely seen, probably experienced at some point, which is like a hyper focus. Sometimes some people work really hard to make it really easy to get into that zone. Other people, it takes a lot of effort. My personal favorite example of this, though a bit old now, is Johnny Wilkinson when he was the kicker for the England rugby team. And you see him and you watch him get ready, and he does this, and he does a little sort of tappy dance with his feet just before he lines up to take that kick. And you can see that moment where he goes into that absolute focus. You can see his eyes change as he does that. So that's like a gamma state. Then we've got the beta state, which is sort of ranges from at the high end of that, like anxiety, awareness, hyper awareness, but not necessarily very comfortable, to general level of everyday awareness, into the alpha state, which is relaxed. On the surface level, it's just a pleasant, relaxed state. You're sat watching TV. Down to a lower state where you're even less aware of what's happening around you. So that could be, sometimes you're watching TV and it's finished and the advert's on and someone says what you're watching and you go, I don't know, because you'd kind of zoned out for a bit. Or that time where you make a journey you're used to, you get to your destination, you don't really remember the journey at all. These are just versions of a very light trance. Beyond that, then we go into the theta range, and in that range, that's sort of a meditation, relaxation. You go through that stage before sleep, and of course during hypnosis, which also works down into the delta range, which is your deeper sleep, and the deepest state, which feels really relaxing. It's really cool. And hypnotic trance can utilize any of those levels. So it doesn't have to, in fact, it doesn't even have to be relaxing. So there's an obvious and common expectation that hypnosis is relaxing, and yeah, it absolutely can be. And I enjoy using it in a way that is incredibly relaxing. In fact, sometimes on the self-hypnosis workshop, one of the things that I teach is how to enter into your relax zone. So basically, it's a specific, simple, quick, fast, and easy way to take yourself to access a relaxed trance state where you can still be aware of what's happening around you, but not really paying attention to it, and have all of the benefits of, like, it's almost like a power nap, but condensed into a shorter space of time that leaves you feeling so much more refreshed afterwards. To me, so yes, it can be incredibly relaxing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It can also be high energy. So that's the trance element of it. It's really cool, and yes, you can put yourself into a trance. I teach how to do that as well, and it's really fun. And you can use it to then install programs. That's how I refer to it. So you can take these suggestions, which I'll talk about in a moment, and use a combination of different suggestions weaved together in the right way to create effectively a program that you can install to your subconscious, a way of literally reprogramming your mind. I've no idea who that is that's just said that, but part of me is really hoping that it might be Darren Strudwick. It's probably not. So so I let that throw me a little bit there. So with the programs, we put suggestions together, and we can literally install a program to reprogram our subconscious and to allow those fundamental beliefs to work in our favor. So what are suggestions, and why am I rabbiting on about them? You don't need to come on my workshop to benefit from what I'm about to explain in terms of suggestion. Suggestions are around us all of the time, from really obvious examples like a big billboard that says buy this burger, and you see that and you really fancy a McDonald's or whatever it might be, right through to the more subtle suggestions, which don't even need to involve words and language. It could be something as simple as someone going and looking over at a window, and you think, oh, yeah, it's a bit cold, and you close the window. Silly example. Oh, great question there from Jess. If you're really tired, low energy, would you recommend hypnosis or a power nap? I'm thinking of having a nap. Personally, for me, hypnosis wins every time. Partly because, and I'm a sleep expert, but I don't enjoy naps myself. I tend to find that I wake up feeling less energized than I would like to from a nap, and for me, it takes longer to get the benefits of a nap. Whereas when I teach self-hypnosis, this relax zone, literally you can access it almost that instantly. And I tend to kind of set myself a mental timer of 5 minutes. And that's all I need to kind of feel refreshed. It just works really well for me. But if you really like napping, don't let me take away from that. Naps are awesome if you enjoy them. But personally, for me, I'd recommend hypnosis over a power nap. Up to you. Yes, so suggestions are around us all of the time. Sometimes they're blatant, sometimes they're subtle. And as we're growing up, especially, we're hungry and we're learning a lot about the world around us. And so we absorb suggestions far more easily, especially when we're looking up to our parents and our peers and the people that we're learning from. We absorb their suggestions. And as parents, we tend to repeat a lot of suggestions over and over again without necessarily even realizing that we're doing it. Think about common sayings and expressions that we use, we as people, in the English language especially. There's a lot of things that we say. Money doesn't grow on trees, for example. Straight away, that's a suggestion that we're giving, that behind the wording there's a suggestion there that money isn't abundant. There's a finite amount of money and it's limited. So it's understandable how people grow up with money blocks and mindset that struggles for them to accept that they could earn more money and be richer and wealthier financially. Just one example. But also the language that we use day in, day out tends to quite often be very, very negative. It may not mean to be. Even when we're trying to focus on what we do want, often we end up using what we don't want as our marker and our focus. Simple example of this, don't forget to do this. If you tell someone not to forget, the idea that comes to their mind, whether you intended it or not, is forgetting the thing. Whereas if you focus on remembering the thing, it's much easier to remember. And if you already expect that you're going to forget, you set that expectation. So your subconscious wants to be your best friend, wants to do everything for you. The problem is, it really needs some careful guidance to know what the right thing is. So when you say things like, I always struggle with this, I'm rubbish at that, I'm going to mess this up, then your subconscious is like, you want to mess this up? Okay, yeah, we'll do that. It's not really what you want, but it's what you're communicating you want to yourself. So by speaking differently to yourself, by improving your language, by focusing on the things you do want, you can create suggestions for yourself which are far more positive. But before you even worry about that, you can choose which suggestions you accept and which you repel. When someone says, you're not good enough at that, or you're always messy, or you'll never be rich, or you'll never make it as an actor if that's your dream and what you really want to do, you can choose to accept those suggestions, or you can recognize and rebuke that suggestion. You can let it bounce off of you and you can replace it with something far more positive. You have the control to make that choice. We're surrounded by suggestions all the time, but it doesn't mean you need to absorb them. But the suggestions you make to yourself are even stronger than the suggestions that come from elsewhere. Because if you're repeating those suggestions to yourself, you don't disagree with your own opinion. Otherwise, it wouldn't be your opinion anymore. So we tend to latch on to the things that we say to ourselves far more strongly, which is why self-hypnosis can be so powerful. It's not Darren, it's the person that's making sure I'll be home in time for the pup. Yes, I will be. Almost. Yes, so I'm going to have to shoot very quickly. But you are amazing. The mind is amazing. Anyone who says that they can't be hypnotized doesn't necessarily understand what hypnosis is. Hypnosis, quite simply, is suggestion and trance. And when you put the two together, they're awesome. But you've all been suggested to. You've all been hypnotized your whole life. You have beliefs. You have expectations. Some of those beliefs will be holding you back from things, but you can change them. You can shift those beliefs. And if you want help to do so, and if you'd like to find out more about my upcoming self-hypnosis workshop, I shall pop the link in the post. But this is going out in various places. So head to mindaffinity.co.uk/self-hypnosis, and all of the information is there. And there's payment options available and stuff. Get in touch if you're interested. Drop me a message. Let's have a chat. I'd love to see you there. Okay, I'm going to have to go and shoot and make sure that I am indeed in time for my puppy. But remember, as I said at the very start, you are awesome. Go out there and be even more awesome. You deserve it. Love you all. Bye.